What's up, fiends? Alucard here. Today we're going to talk about some awesome movies available to watch for free on Tubi. All right, so these kind of run the gamut of all kind of different genres and stuff. So I'm just going to start with the oldest one first, and we'll make our way through. So first up, we have a universal monster. That's right, Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954. Directed by Jack Arnold and stars Richard Carlson, Julie Adams, Ben Chapman, and Rico Brown as the creature. This is about an amphibious monster escaping captivity in order to be with the scientist's beautiful lab assistant. Um, this is sort of a later entry into the Universal Monster movies, but this is an absolute classic. It's become a classic, and it is beyond a must watch if you're a classic horror fan. Now, Tubi does have a bunch of the Universal monsters right now to watch for free, and I do recommend all of them. But this one does seem to kind of fall by the wayside sometimes, and I mean it really is a classic, so it really does need to be watched. All right, so next up we have from 1964, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. That is the full title. It is, of course, directed by the one and only Stanley Kubrick and stars Peter Sellers in three different roles: George C. Scott, Slim Pickens, and James Earl Jones. That's right, Darth Vader's up in this bad boy. This is a dark comedy about an insane American general uh, ordering a bombing attack on the Soviet Union, and this triggers basically a path to a nuclear holocaust. And there's a war room full of politicians and generals and whatnot, and they're frantically trying to stop it. Um, Now I know this description kind of doesn't sound very funny, but wow, this is one of the most clever, like thought provoking, like black comedies ever made. Um, and I dare say this is probably my favorite Kubrick film. True story. Now we're going to jump to 1975 with Dog Day Afternoon, directed by Sidney Lumet, and stars Al Pacino, John Cazale, Charles Durning, and Chris Sarandon. This one is based on a true story. It's the amateur bank robbers plan to hold up a bank to pay for a sex change operation. The heist, which they thought was going to be easy, suddenly becomes sort of like this bizarre nightmare where everything that can go wrong does go wrong. It's really funny. You'll laugh, you'll cry. I mean, this movie is it's amazing, and I think everyone needs to see this. Extremely, very well made movie. All right, now we're going to the 80s, baby. 1983 to be exact. We have The Outsiders, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and stars a who's who of future stars, including C. Thomas Howell, Matt Dillon, Ralph Macchio, Diane Lane, Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise, Emilio Estevez, and Rob Lowe. Now, if that is not a star-studded cast, I don't know what is. So this one's basically about a rivalry between two gangs, the Greasers and the Socias. One's like a poor group, and one's more of the rich, hoity-toity group. Um, and things really start heating up when one of the gang members kills another one. And yeah, it's based on the book by S.E. Hinton. The book is amazing as well. Um, the performances here are all outstanding. Um, in particular, I'd love to highlight Matt Dillon and Ralph Macchio. Um, some Both of them, I think, some of the best acting they've ever done. And I actually did have to read the book in school, and this movie adaptation is, I think, easily one of the best film adaptations of a book I've ever seen. And this movie is an absolute must-see, 5 out of 5 stars, no question. It's that good. All right, now we're going to jump to the future of 1984 with the movie Runaway, written and directed by Michael Crichton. Yeah, Michael Crichton of Jurassic Park fame, and stars Tom Selleck, Cynthia Rhodes, Gene Simmons. Yes, Kiss Gene Simmons, and Kirstie Alley. This is a sci-fi action flick. It's about the near future in which a police officer specializes in dealing with malfunctioning robots. And when one of the robots turns out to have been programmed to kill, he begins to uncover a plot to create killer robots. And his son ends up becoming a target. This one is really underrated, and people really don't talk about it, and it's really a shame. If you're into like sci-fi action type things, this is your movie. All right, next up we have Little Shop of Horrors from 1986, directed by Frank Oz. This one stars Rick Moranis and Ellen Greene, with special appearances by people like Steve Martin, John Candy, Bill Murray, that kind of thing. This is a comedy horror musical, and it's about a nerdy florist named Seymour, played by Rick Moranis, and a giant man-eating plant named Audrey, who demands to be fed human blood. Yeah. This cult classic is really just a demented good time. It really is. And Rick Moranis, it really is an absolute treasure. I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with this movie. It's so goofy and insane that it's brilliant. All right, next up, let's go on an adventure with 1987's Whitewater Summer, directed by Jeff Bleckner, and stars Kevin Bacon and a young Sean Astin. This one is about an experienced guide, and he accompanies a city boy and his friends on their first wilderness experience, including whitewater rafting. Um, Hoping to teach the boys lessons not only about wilderness, but about themselves, the guide kind of pushes them to their limits. Soon after, he finds himself in desperate need of help and must rely on the kids in order to survive. This one is really intense and it's totally riveting. I've seen this a few times, and every time I'm still on the edge of my seat, even though I know what happens. Yeah, it's one of those. It's that good. It's another underrated gem that not a lot of people know about. So now let's look at one of my favorite comedies from the 90s. Multiplicity from 1996, directed by Harold Ramis and stars Michael Keaton and Andy McDowell. This one's about a guy who never has enough time to do the things that he wants to do. So he is offered an opportunity to have himself cloned. And the results are hilarious. And the clones kind of get dumber and dumber as they go, as they multiply. This one's a riot. I'm chuckling just kind of thinking about it. If you're a fan of Michael Keaton, this is an absolute no-brainer. Even if you're not a fan of Michael Keaton, this movie is just so freaking funny. It really is. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Now we're going to finally enter the 21st century with 2000's Requiem for a Dream, directed by Darren Aronofsky, and stars Ellen Burstyn, Jared Leto, Jennifer Connelly, and Marlon Wayans in a serious role. Yeah. So the lives of 4 people intertwine in this like crazy tale of addiction and all the devastation that comes with it, basically. This is kind of the ultimate don't do drugs movie. It really is. And it's you feel like so insane while watching this movie. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. So if you're easily offended or you're easily disturbed by things, you may want to stay away. But this movie is like endlessly fascinating. All right, now we're going to travel to the year 2012 with Byzantium, directed by Neil Jordan and stars Gemma Arterton and Saoirse Ronan. This one's about 2 mysterious women seeking refuge in a rundown British seaside resort. where they are trying to hide their vampiric nature, I guess you could say. This one's like super moody, and it's not a typical vampire movie at all. It's very artsy and very, you know, but it's directed by Neil Jordan, who did Interview with the Vampire. So it kind of has that vibe a little bit. As you're watching it, you can kind of see. But like the acting, the directing, the cinematography are all like top notch. And it All right. So I have another sci-fi flick for you in 2016's Morgan, directed by Luke Scott and stars Kate Mara and Anya Taylor-Joy. This film is about a corporate risk management consultant for a genetic engineering company named Synsec, who must decide whether or not to terminate the life of an artificial being named Morgan. Morgan is, of course, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. This was I think like her big movie after The Witch. And I don't know, a lot of people crap on this one, but I really liked it. It's sort of a sci-fi action flick with little touches of horror here and there. The story is really, to me, was really interesting, and the acting is really really good in this movie. So yeah, so check that one out. All right, and lastly, I have one more for you. I kind of have another artsy movie. It's kind of an artsy paranormal movie called Personal Shopper from 2017, directed by Olivier Assayas, or Assayas. I don't know. I'm sure I'm pronouncing something wrong. My apologies. It does star Kristen Stewart and a bevy of names I cannot pronounce, so I'm not even going to try. um, this one is about a personal shopper in Paris who refuses to leave the city until she makes contact with her twin brother who previously died there. Kristen Stewart is really amazing in this movie. I know she gets a lot of hate, but she can really be a fabulous actress when she wants to be. This is not your typical ghost story at all. It's more of a drama. This movie is really more about her battling grief and sorrow, but with many more twists along the way. It's very unique, and it's good for any adventurous viewer. It really is. So there you have it. My recommendations for Tubi for September 2022. Do any of these intrigue you? Have you seen any of these? What do you think of them? If you did see them, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below. Meanwhile, fiends, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Until next time, remember to stay spooky. Peace.